Hey shy people, what is your worst experience? Okay everyone, before we begin, why don't we go around the room and tell us a little about yourselves? Username checks out. Also hate that. Let me be. I agree. I get that they want to remember you by something and get everyone familiar with each other, but I seriously don't have anything really worth mentioning that I actually want to share with everyone. Honestly, some improv games are more fun and help people to remember others and their names more. I understand that part of it. However, this was in my app gem class, in which it was basically only the people from the last year. We can't hear you, say it louder. OHH man, this gave me bad chills. I hate when I was in the middle of speaking and I'd get interrupted like that too. Nothing worse than that, lol. Oh yeah, hate that too. People in the back didn't hear you. Did you? Public speaking is man's #1 fear. Had a high school buddy who was sworn to silence to most people, even teachers, yet a select few kids he'd talk to. Funniest guy I've ever met. Said he's gone full years without saying a word to his own teachers. Edit. Wow, thanks for the upvotes and responses. I didn't think this would get attention. We would get on Xbox and play with him, and he'd be the loudest and smack talk everyone. Really cool guy, wish I kept in touch. We had this kid in my high school, too. I had him in a lot of my classes, and no teacher was ever able to get a single word out of him the entire 4 years, including an extremely persistent Cubano Spanish teacher who made it a life's goal to get this kid to speak. One day in senior year, one of our teachers with a dark sense of humor is dicking around and poses a dead baby joke to class. How many dead babies does it take to fill up a bathtub? The silent kid, whom none of us had ever heard utter a damn word for nearly 4 years, answers without pause. 7. We all. Died. I choose to believe this is all a setup for that one joke and aspire to be like this. Nobody tell me otherwise. I wouldn't say this is my worst experience, but it's amusing to me. I was setting up a network in a small satellite office and was still working when the last other person left. It was nighttime and they didn't see me or know I was still there, so they turned out all the office lights as they left. I left them off because I enjoy working in the dark and do it often. After like an hour, another worker came back into the office to do something or another, and rather than have to say hi, I opted to hide under the desk I was at in an open office as a 35-year-old man. I'm not sure why I did that, but luckily they didn't notice me and left again after about 15 minutes. NGL, had to chuckle at this. Sounds like something I would do rather than explaining to the person that I enjoy working in the dark and seeming kinda weird. Then they find you under the desk and you seem even weirder. I was really hoping that's where it was going. Putting a year's worth of confidence into a job interview just to be the quiet one after you get the job. The anxiety, dude, it's always frustrating as your first few weeks while getting comfortable with everyone. You just keep asking yourself, if I could interview so well, why is it taking so long to be able to talk with my coworkers? And it gets worse if when you work in a small team with long shifts and not much to do during downtimes. Like being a barista. I'm only sorta shy, but I am really introverted. It seems more rude to me to bother people I don't know well with inane small talk than just being silent, those, you know? I am a bit shy when first meeting people, so after getting to know me, I often hear when I first met you, I thought you were such a cool. I get told that I seem intimidating, which I always find bizarre when you don't talk, they don't know about you, what you like to do, where you're from, etc., so you become an unapproachable unknown. As someone who gets called intimidating a lot, this is enlightening. Thank you. I'm 6'2" and 220 pounds, and I don't talk for. Everyone feels scared of me until they realize I'm a huge lol. I worked at a haunted house once, and us actors all got a kick out of scaring the biggest dudes. They were really easy to spook and would often run away from us, abandoning their tiny girlfriends. As a kid, my shyness was crippling. I got locked in the toilet in school, started yelling, crying, and the teacher had to remove the lock to get me out. The whole class was standing behind him, looking at me. Geez, I thought that stuff only happened in the movies. Hope you're doing well. Definitely not only a movie thing, haha. I experienced something similar, but some mean kids manipulated the lock when I was inside, and that's why I got stuck. Super traumatic. I hated my childhood. Went to a birthday party maybe when I was 14-15 years old. Birthday girl was a mutual friend of my best friend at the time, and I always had the impression she disliked me for stealing her best friend. I didn't go to hardly any birthday slumber parties, so I was excited. In my high school Spanish class, some kids screamed, "Do you ever talk at me?" in front of the entire class. Super embarrassing at the time, but hilarious to look back on. Had a similar incident in freshman science class in high school, hardly ever talked, and I guess the teacher somehow got it in her head that I was mute. She came up to me early one morning just before class with a sign language interpreter and asked if I needed participating in class. Looked her dead in the eye and said, "I can talk." She turned about 7 different shades of red before telling the interpreter they wouldn't be needed. Poor soul was just trying to help. No good deed goes unpunished, teacher. I was in a group therapy session as a kid, like maybe 14. I really had to go to the bathroom, but we weren't allowed to during the session. I was sorta balled up in the center of the room, not like emotional or anything, just sitting comfortably hugging my knees cause all the spots on the couch were taken. Some girl had just finished telling a story of her abuse. She was crying and there was no other sound. Was sort of that awkward but respectful silence that fills the space when you want to be supportive, but saying anything at all would somehow seem inconsiderate. It was into this yawning void that I farted. I knew it was coming. It'd been staving off the gurgling in my stomach for some time now. It'd broken into a sweat already with the sheer effort of will to delay the inevitable. It was no use. I tried to discreetly shift my weight and maybe muffle the sound. I failed. This was neither silent nor deadly. It effortlessly shattered the silence like sledgehammer versus a Christmas ornament. Another moment of silence swallowed the sound, but it was a void of disbelief. Then some kid yelled as loud as they could. Jen farted, and the entire room collapsed into helpless laughter, while I promptly turned to stone and died on the spot. Hopefully it gave the crying girl a giggle too. It actually did. It's pretty hard not to give into the absurdity of the moment. You know, if you're not the one who farted anyways. Imagine bravely sharing your story of abuse and someone farts, lol. I mean, I resolutely tried to defeat the beast with thin, but I'm only a mere mortal. Part of me thinks she was probably grateful for the distraction, honestly. That silence was probably as awkward for her as it was for us. Yeah, you probably made her day a little brighter, albeit at your expense. Here's a new lens for this story. Not all heroes wear capes. Going to a crowded party with one friend who really wanted to drag you along but then disappears. Where my damn panic button? Frantic button mashing. Time for the all-Irish exit. I did that at a work party once. I made my appearance, said hi to the appropriate people, and then felt kind of uncomfortable for a while. Like not being sure what to do with your hands, but it's your entire person. Fortunately, the packed patio area was directly connected to the parking lot, so I was able to disappear when I noticed the opportunity.